This particular segment is about the bills of exchange. And yesterday we started this segment concerning the bills of exchange. And what we're doing in this broadcast is, because some people have problems with reading and reading comprehension, we're providing content that is for the learning impaired. Okay? Just like people create content for the hearing impaired, the deaf mute, we also provide content for the deaf mute. Um, a lot of our content is written for that purpose, is geared to make sure that we have a lot of content that would attract people who can see but cannot hear, so they can read much of the content that's available and it is explained out in the video summaries. And that is the reason for the video summaries that you will see in the comment section. Also, if you visit our community, see up here at the top it says Visit Community. Click on that. Now we're looking at the administrative side, so it won't say community settings there except for your channel information. But what you will see is the content that's been posted in the community. We do post content, written content in the community that you can read. And here is provided a summary of the type of content that we're providing on this channel. And today this channel is about the bills of exchange. So let's get into it. Here we are. We started yesterday, and we, just to recap, you have the title of the document that is significant, and we learned the significance of a title on yesterday. We also raised some concerns about this document starting at chapter 61. So that precludes that this document is not whole and entire. Okay? It's starting at chapter 61. So that means this act has been taken out of, not taken out, but it's a partition. It's not the whole document. If it says it has 61 chapters, then 60 chapters is not included in this advertisement or whatever they want to call it. People say it's not an advertisement. Yes, it is. It's an excerpt. People got to learn what an advertisement is. They publicized this bill and advertised it in the market for people to accept it and begin acting upon it. Okay? Just like a stock. And whoever acts upon it has stock in this act. You share in belief of this act. And you share in the benefits of this act. Okay? Because there's all kind of benefits up in here. That's the reason we reading it. It's a benefits package. Okay? This act may be cited as the bills of exchange. See, it says as the bills of exchange. This act may be cited. That means you can use this in court. And don't let people tell you because something is an old document like a treaty, when they act upon treaties, every day. Okay? The president is acting upon treaties, old treaties every day. So it doesn't matter how old the documentation of the right is, okay? It matters that other people are using it, and so you have equal opportunities. Excuse me. Smoking that gun caught me off guard. Hit me in that pipe. Okay, but you have equal opportunities under the protections of the law. Okay, and in this act, unless the context otherwise requires, see, we need to understand what that means. Unless the context otherwise requires. Okay, I understand. I'll tell you what that means. Is that if you're acting, okay, or you cite this as a reference by which you are acting upon, unless you say otherwise, then it's safe to assume you are acting upon this act. You are um, creating documents and or entering into contracts based upon the grounds that is underwritten in this act, because it's an assurance package, all right? And we'll get into that. I keep saying that because you got to understand what stuff is. It's an advertisement of insurance, okay? This is why they had that clause in there. Unless the context otherwise requires, okay? So in other words, if another law trumps or rule trumps what's being said in here, then that law stands, okay? And they didn't put all that in there. But you got to understand what's being said. It said, unless the context. In other words, if you're dealing in a private entity, that is not applicable, because this is applicable to public entities. See? So the context of the matter is unapplicable. Somebody trying to effectuate a bill of exchange with somebody who is a private contract, a private person, and they're trying to hold them to public requirements, okay, is inappropriate, because that is the context that is not applicable. That's the otherwise, okay? And that requires handling based upon natural laws, okay? Common law. This is not based upon natural law or common law. It's based upon it. Let me correct a dead statement by saying that it is. I have some fortitude in the fact that it's based upon natural law. Okay, and there's a sense of fairness in there, right? Justice. That's natural law, and so I will clarify my statement and say that it's loosely, very loosely, based it upon natural law. What I mean loosely is that it kind of makes provisions for some improprieties. And because it doesn't have standing to the effect that if a person, for example, when people go in court, right, and if the bill of exchange really did have standing in court, right, then the bankers wouldn't even go in court and be trying to hide that they really don't hold the note and this and that, and that they have securitized the instruments and so forth. Pardon me. So what's occurring in that instance is that uh, they are hiding behind the color of law. It just appears that it's lawful for them to do that. And so we back at acceptance again, because we're trying to get you to accept the fact that some of the things that they're doing is not lawful, but it is allowed. Please understand, it is not lawful, but it is allowed. Even the Bible say some things are lawful, but not expedient. Okay? In other words, yeah, it may be kind of wrong, like that. It's kind of wrong, but it's really not. It's on that, what people call in the gray area, right? And so to make strong accusations, unless the person refuses to remedy the situation, keep trying to play you like a crash dummy after you done already declared your status, then you go for the juggler. But otherwise, you at ease, soldier. Okay? Acceptance is completed by delivery. Soon as you understand that, this message will be delivered. Okay? Once you have received the message, whether you understand it or not, because it's up to you to make sure that you get an understanding. Send the person a letter back if you don't understand. That's a rebuttal or a response, okay? Send them back a rebuttal or a response. Don't answer. Send them back a rebuttal or a response. An answer is when you're trying to answer to guilt, basically. All right? In other words, now I'm trying to give you an excuse of why I did do what you alleged that I did. Okay? So basically, to me, an answer is like validating their claim. Okay? No, I'm not validating your claim. You don't even have standing in your claim. Why would I validate it? Like people are asking the creditors, sending letters to the creditors and demanding that the creditors validate the claim. Send a letter of validation. Okay, you the one said validated. You demanded that they validated, and so they sent you a bogus validation. I'm done. You cannot be mad and call that fraud. You asked as if you couldn't validate it. If you are the one that know that they cannot validate it, then you need to state that they cannot validate that and what reason that you have determined that. It's because you are the only one that has first-hand knowledge to validate it. Why would you ask somebody else to validate your shit? That makes no sense. This is why I just watch these videos. I watch them. Sometimes I can't even make it through the shenanigans that is offering to the point where I'm like, oh, I need to make a video about this. This not like to steal their thunder, so to speak, but it's to offer an option that's more valid to the consumers, because that's not fair to them that you providing them information and it is actually incorrect. Notice I'm not just trying to critique other people's content, but what I am trying to do in this on this platform is offer genuine information that will guide you towards an understanding that in seeking information, you must be diligent. Don't stop at anything. Don't stop just because that video has a lot of viewers. What I have found, and I'm not throwing shade on nobody, but what I have found is that people that have a lot of subscribers and viewers, their content is shallow and has no, has no substance, and it is solely based on generating revenue through the systems, through by the measurements and the skill that Google has placed upon, and the burden that Google has placed upon its constituents. Now, it's only a burden because you took that upon yourself. I have 30,000, I'm exaggerating, but I have a lot of channels, okay? I have 30,000 channels, but I have that many channels so that I can categorize my works, not so that I can create channels to scroll about on the internet and so my main channel don't get shut down. Now I got this other backup channel which I don't care if it gets blocked from, while I'm online just scrolling about, spewing out hateful comments. That's not what I do. A lot of times when I am on those other channels and doing work and I come across, especially if somebody infringing upon my trademark or intellectual property, I'll go to my personal channel and my public figure channel, Candy Johnson, and I'll come back, I'll copy it and share the link. Share, how you can share the link. I'll copy that link and bring it over into my Candy Johnson channel. And I'll address that in my name and in my honor. People need to understand why I'm taking the time to talk about this and explain it instead of just going through reading. Yeah, you saw in there that we was reading, but this how in the fuck you read. You don't read where you just going through and you thought you understood it, but you ain't understood. How you gonna comprehend it? Let's get your thinking your thinking engines running here when you read. Otherwise, you're not gonna pay attention to the otherwise. The otherwise matters. It's how they critique contracts in court. They take each word and they examine it. And each party from both sides can point out different words that create a different aspect. And they present their perspective of that word and what they think the author meant by that word. This is why you have people for years and years and years critiquing the Constitution. They have whole classes in a degree of study. For one, fucking document. To try to understand one damn document somebody wrote a long time ago. What the hell did they mean by this? All right. What could they have meant? And then everybody need to somewhat agree or come to a consensus about the understanding of it, of the instrument, okay, what was written. Let's see if we want to agree with this, okay? If we want to accept it, we got to understand what it means first. We reading the bills of exchange. This is what it say in the bills of exchange. If you don't know what it say in the bill of exchange, then you don't need to be filling out these presentments. If you don't know what a presentment is, you don't need to be writing up nothing. You don't need to be filing for no trust and no you can always write you a will, but people got to understand what I mean by filing a trust. You can have private trust all day long without any accountability because it's not holding nobody else to nothing. Okay? But in order for the public to recognize your financial estate or exemption from taxes and so forth like that, it needs to be filed on the record. And it needs to be under terms that we can agree on. And if you are referring your asset value to some imaginary account in the sky, then hell yeah, they denied that shit. You don't have no grounds upon which you basing this on. Got to come with some grounds. Got to deliver. We really need to do a whole series of study on what a completed delivery is, what a notification is, okay? Notice it said delivery or notification, okay? Because we get notifications every day, right? I get notifications that I have a lot of emails coming in, but I don't never check none of them emails hardly, okay? I don't like emails. I be telling people I do not want communication this way, but to do business with them, they force you under duress. And so since they try to force me under duress to give them an email, I just gave them a crash dummy email for them to communicate with the dead, and they having their own conversation in the background. I don't need to be a partaker of that. That's the way I feel about it. All right. Moving right along. Action. Action includes counterclaim. We discussed that on yesterday's broadcast, how a lot of lawyers don't counterclaim. And you might say, I thought the bills of exchange was about a court case. This is why you do not need to be filing no 9(8) trusts and all this kind of stuff. You don't know what the 9(8) mean. You don't know why it's being filed. None of that. Just stop it. Y'all doing the most when you don't even have to do that. You can access benefits without getting yourself into stuff you don't know nothing about. The Bible says, touch not mine anointing and do my prophet no harm. Okay? And the reason why you are experiencing harm is because you're touching the anointed thing. In other words, those particular type of documents are intended for the upright. And when people are doing sneaky, deviant, unearthing type of things, I'll explain what unearthing is like. When you take a tree out of the ground and then don't transplant it, and just like sometimes when you have earthquakes, or when we have these flood hurricanes, the the earth will move and shift and turn loose of a tree, the root and all, okay? And that mean that tree can no longer stand because that earth done shook loose up under it, all right? And the big old trees will fall over, and you'll see the roots sitting on top of the ground, okay? That's called unearthing. The ground did not accept it no more. The ground spit it back up, literally, okay? In Florida, you hear about sinkholes. That's another reaction of nature when things are out of order. It'll swallow you in. It'll either spew you out or swallow you whole. Okay? One of the two. So, but that is a reactionary consequence of something that's out of alignment. So, if you have had the opportunity to get the 9-8 and you're wondering why you seem like you're stuck right there, you can't go anywhere. It's like somebody's gatekeeping. What the heck? Why I can't get this? Why I can't get that? It's because that's not for selfish people. That's why. And you selfish. That's why you locked in that hole right there. You trapped in that understanding because you had no business entering in. You had no right or authority to enter in. All the promises in the book ain't yours. I say that all the time because it's about Bibles and bills now. When you read those documents and instructions that tell you how to fill out IRS tax forms, I'm finna show you how all the promises in the book ain't yours. And they tell you how to fill out those tax forms. Okay? And there are a lot of ins and outs to those tax forms. Okay? So some people that have not learned all the ins and outs to those tax forms, what happened to them? Repercussions. Frivolous filing. And only a mature entity can respond to that appropriately and say, this is nothing frivolous about this. I have this, and this to back me up. But because you was filing in, you're a minor, you didn't even know what to do next. Why your guru got to tell you what to do next? Because you are a minor and you have no business. Even your guru don't. Once they realize that you do not have the capacity to answer that question for yourself by coming to them and saying, oh, I did this, now what do I do? Their instructions should have been to cease and desist. Send a letter closing all of those accounts out until further notice. Okay? Yes, you can do that until further notice. That means you're not operating under this until you get understanding of what's going on. That's until further notice. Okay? You're going to get them notice when you catch up to speed. If you really want to mature and get an understanding, you can hold that off. You can put that in a hold position. But if it's open and active, now you're responsible that it's open and it's active. Put that sucker in a reserve position. Come back and get it later. Don't just try to ignore it because that's immaturity. Send notice that you are parking. You parking that vehicle. You're not driving that vehicle, okay? And you got to understand what a vehicle is. This instrument is a vehicle. Any instruments you make according to this is a vehicle. It's categorized as a vehicle. That's why it have a title. What do you get to your car? Let's scroll on back up. This is how you read right here and get some understanding. Have a title. You have a short title. You have a title to your what? House. Title to your what? Video. For you intellectual property content creators, you have a title to your video. Please understand, if it's common and it's like everybody else's, what happens is no longer unique or has any unique identifier. All right? You is in what's called the public domain. And so you got to have all them 1,000 commercials interrupting your content while other people who are actually making the real money, we don't have to have all those commercials on our content because we're making money. Otherwise, you got to learn how to understand that what has value, okay? Once you got to 1,000 subscribers, like our goal is 1,000 subscribers, you may wonder, how is that important to the bill of exchange? Hush up and listen and pay attention, you'll learn. Okay? Our agreement with our viewers is this. You're a viewer so long as you just watching the content and just liking the content. Our reward system is not based upon likes. That's Google system. We don't go by Google system. It's why you don't see a lot of likes on the videos, and we don't ask for likes anywhere. We don't ask for likes. We appreciate it that you liked it, but we encourage our viewers to show support by doing 3 things. Subscribe. That's your application to say, I would like to apply my interest in this channel. Okay? That's step 1. That's the commitment. You know, it's just a loose commitment. Okay? Step 2, share. When you share, okay, that automatically gives you interest in our banking depository system, okay? The reason why it automatically gives you interest is you have shown your interest by actions, by your actions, right? Which cannot be denied. So as we go up in value, guess who comes right along with us? Everyone who has commented. Let's be understood. Sharing is showing your interest. It shows Okay, I shared content from this channel. I shared 30 videos on my Facebook or on my website, and I did a whole article about this video, what have you. Okay, that is then showing interest in the content. Okay, now when you do that, we will receive like analytics based upon who all is doing what. Okay, and on this channel, people are going to receive compensation for that. Not just a thank you. We do appreciate you. But we do exchanges over here where we show our appreciation by giving back. And so that's what this bill of exchange is all about. Even exchanges, no robbery. You can only make a claim against somebody if they didn't make an even exchange. And we do business based upon that rule. Even exchanges, no robbery. Well, some people say fair exchanges, no robbery. It's the same thing. Interpretation of the terms in this act, unless the context otherwise requires, is what they're trying to provide for you. And this is what we're trying to assist with the interpretation of this information. Now, do please consider, this is a notification to you, that our interpretation is just that, our interpretation. You may interpret this as you like, okay? But what we need to be clear is your interpretation only has standing to the extent that anything that you say that's contrary, then you need to have evidence to back it up. That part. For your own safety, you need to have evidence to back it up. And this is the reason why people are getting into trouble with creating instruments, because they're placing stuff on the instruments that it never told, the Bill of Exchange never told them to do. In the case that we have and we examine on this channel, where they have in a case about the Bill of Exchange, and the lawyer outright said that the person had could 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 commit fraud with the instrument. And I'm like, what kind of lawyer representative is he for the defendant? And he is outright telling the court that he could use the instrument he created to defraud somebody. And that's like an insinuation that he was using the instrument to defraud, because they brought up about he had been showing other people, he was one of the gurus that was supposedly showing other people how to do the same thing. And it was erroneous. It was an error in the way he designed it. Okay? And the specific error is intellectual property rules. Okay? It's within the grounds. It don't have nothing to do with the Bill of Exchange. What it has to do with, you went outside of the perimeters. Okay? What they said. Okay? Where it said, unless the context otherwise requires. Okay? There's another rule that kicked in on you. When you use other people's names, another rule kicked in. And he created a unique instrument, money order, and made it look like the United States Treasury Department was issuing out money orders. And he was just dispersing them up with the person, the when they say forged, you don't know when you type that out in dark bold print on bonded paper. That is a notary, and so you notarize that. He notarized that instrument with somebody else's name on it, which gives off the air or the pretense that it was authorized by that person. Okay, and it was not. It was in fact not authorized by that person. Okay, and that's where they had an ability to rule against him because of trademark laws. Okay, and they just made it seem like, oh, you can't do a bill of exchange. No, that wasn't even the case. We'll go over that later. Okay, but this is what we're talking about. Action includes counterclaims and set off. See, when he was claiming that they was not honoring the money order, they counterclaimed and said, you are trademark, you are infringing on our trademark by using our names. You infringed on the person name. That's the chief financial officer, I think he had on there or whatever. But he was doing the most stuff that the bill of exchange don't tell you. The very thing that you're accusing these corporations of doing, which is forging identity theft, that's what he was doing. That's what I mean by it's a very thin line between, you can accuse somebody else of the crime and then you did it yourself, you know. Which, if I was his lawyer, I would have defended my client and stated that it was excusable neglect because of the fact and the nature that he wasn't intending to defraud. Even though it could have been used in that fashion, it was not. Okay? And that is exoneratory right there. It lets you off the hook. That's what exoneratory means. Okay? Claim and set off. Counterclaim and set off. Action includes counterclaim and set off. Well, this is one of them things that when you read it, it's got so many other words in there, you don't know what the hell they even mean. So if their intent was to clarify, and in no way did they do that, what they intended to accomplish by this definition. So this is the reason why I need to explain everything. Action includes counterclaim and set off. Counterclaim and set off, I explained the counterclaim, right? But I didn't explain the set off aspect of the scenario. So here we go. The gentleman that they filed charges on, right? I don't know if he initiated a claim, if they initiated a claim against him. I think they sent him a letter. It was following, things went back and forth. However, he could have easily sent them a letter and asking them what is the proper procedure, okay? And in all of this, he did do some harm, okay? And the law is do no harm. He did some harm by trademark infringement and also he was teaching other people to do wrong. that adds to your um, the intensity of the offense. Okay, that means you double wrong. You was doing wrong, and then you was teaching somebody else to do wrong. This is why people need to understand what responsibilities. There's something for us responsibility. You have a fiduciary duty. Whether you put a little disclaimer in your video or not, um, not one time did you say you could have been bullshitting or just saying things just to get clout, and you really didn't know what you was talking about. Did you say that? Okay, because that's what you should have said if you was really trying to disclaim the content or disclose the truth. Disclaim meaning you're disclaiming the assumption that you know what you're talking about. Like, you can't make no claim that I know what I'm talking about because I said I don't really know what I'm talking about. That's a disclaimer. I already said I could be wrong, but I'm not sure, and I'm basing this upon uh, my own interpretation. And that is a disclaimer. You're disclaiming responsibility for anything that could be assumed by whatever you disclaim. Okay? In that regard, it sets off the liability. If something should happen, it sets off the liability. In other words, I already, off the jump, I made provisions to tell you you shouldn't have done that. Whatever you did based upon an assumption that I knew what I was talking about, then you shouldn't have done that because I said don't do this. Now, in this case where the gentleman was teaching people, and then they probably got his whole YouTube channels and all this shit, Facebook and all of that as display evidence against him. Okay? And then at no time was he saying, I really don't know what I'm talking about. I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm experimenting. I send notification. None of that, okay? So, since he didn't have any statements or any type of action that would set off the liability, he was held liable. That's what a set off is, okay? If he repaid the U.S. for, like, sent them a settlement offer to say, I apologize, I used your instruments incorrectly, and I would like to settle the matter by paying restitution for that. Then they wouldn't have been able to create a criminal claim against him. It shows his intent was not at all criminal. If he had gone on his, that would have set that shit off. If he had gone on his YouTube channel and made several videos recanting statements made that were incorrect, that shows that he's accountable and responsible for the information that he's disseminated. That would have set off the aspect of the, enhanced violation by him teaching other people. See, that would have set that shit off. Because this person is showing that he's very responsible with disseminating this information, because he have it on his page in his description. I do please pay attention to the correction videos. I provide correction videos. if I have disseminated any information that was wholly or in part incorrect in nature, I will be providing correction videos where I have corrected my statements, prior statements, so that people who are coming across my old videos, please understand, I have new videos to update that information. I can't go back through all of my content realistically and just take everything offline until I found out if all the information is valid. So the quickest route to correcting those errors is to provide correction videos where I will say, okay, I was at one point stating that this process or that process is this, is that, is this. These are the corrections that I'm making to my statements made concerning these particular documents, or these are my addendums, or additional. Sometimes you may not want to change what you said, but maybe it need a little additional explanation so that it's not left out there free willy-nilly style, like people always saying, oh, you could just quit your job, and then people are quitting their job, they're losing their homes. That's irresponsible. When you could have easily said, something that is understood and that it needs to be well thought out, but intentional when it's done. Okay? If you would like to stop working, okay, on your designated job which you applied for, that person should also walk you through how you would go about abandoning ship if you do not have any type of savings to cover you while you learn these processes, okay? Or until you get remedy through any of these processes. And that's wise to say, don't do that. Wait. And yes, you can find time. All you have to do is now prioritize. Instead of scrolling through Facebook, watching stupid, silly, unproductive reels, get on YouTube and start searching for different answers to your problems. Just go on YouTube and type in, how can I pay my bills? If I don't have a job, how can I pay my bills? All right? And trust me, there are so many videos and people that's pretending to be gurus that can walk you through that. All right? Now, if you understand that they're not gurus and that they're teaching you what they know, to its limitation of what they know, keep learning. While you're on your job, get you a favorite channel where you know you getting the information. Ain't no bullshit going on over there. They really talking about some stuff. Learn the understanding of it, okay, first. Then once you learn that it's things that you can do without quitting your job, you can start sending your presentments in while you're still working. People say, oh, you just can't find time when you working. Yes, you can. I used to study while I was at my job. I used to study the Bible till my boss man told me I can't do that. And I told him he don't have no right to tell me what I do on my on my break time. Okay? And that's what I mean. People like, oh, you talking about the Bible. Okay, that's the same thing. And until you understand that, then you don't need to just drop and stop and doing whatever it is you was doing at first. You don't need to do that. And then some people stupid, they listening to other people. They really got something going on that they actually could have drew down benefits and just abandoning that particular job. They have a certain amount of time to claim those benefits or they lose them. Especially if you're a public servant. Like the lady who quit her job and she was a nurse. She didn't know she could have drew down and got and made them give her a servant's pay when she left. But she filing after Manson. Ooh, look, Manson, look what I did. I quit my job. I was a nurse. You crash dummy. You a crash dummy is what you is. Because you abandoned ship and you she even receive what do you call that? Unemployment. But that's nothing in compared to a severance pay. A severance pay is a whole shebang. A lump sum settlement for you to get out of Dodge. Yay. Especially when you address it in that manner. So it's a lot of advice being given too loosely on these grounds. Now, and don't be angry with me, baby. Rock with me. Just because I mention your works, that means I'm already a patron of your product. That means I done watched your videos. I know what's in there. I left comments. And if you ignored me and continue to make these type of content, then that is the reason for the rebuke. Man's be doing the most. Talking about, I understand if he said he want to have a lot of children, but he talking about having them all over the place because women see he got money or got some level of credit or whatever like that, and they throwing coochie at him, and he don't know how to act. He just showing that he immature. That is immaturity. To want your seed to be scattered. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. And your followers got to be the stupidest individuals I know. To even, I keep accidentally, because he was supposed to be talking about something else, and then he ventured off into telling us all about his personal desires to have a gazillion children spread all over the place and stuff like that, and unfathered and so forth like that. That's his intentions. That sound incompetent. They can use that against him in court, and he don't even know it. They can use that against you. Who you think gonna agree with you in court when they can get a sound bite of you saying, yeah, I don't care. Some of the children gonna have to be unfathered. I ain't gonna be in their lives. Wait a minute now. Hold up. Wait a minute now. Why in the fuck would you do that? and you claim you got a master plan. What's the master plan? You ain't doing nothing but what we have described as a sorry ass motherfucker for many years. What are you doing? People think just because they doing something different that makes them great and grand. He did say he was a narcissist. So I guess that's part of his narcissistic tendencies that make him think that if he is doing something different, it is in fact great by the fact that it's different. Because he is a Trump supporter, that right there tell you a lot. He's an Elon Musk supporter, that right there tell you a lot. You know, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of veered off from listening to Yusuf, even though he's very intelligible, and so is Manson. It's because when people start saying that they're woke, but mentioning the dads, that don't go together. That don't go together. The living, we don't even speak on the dead activity. They are irrelevant. We certainly don't look up to them. Look up to them for, how can you look down from up? They're not up in the first place is what I'm saying. They're only elevated in your mind, and only in your mind. And so when I seen that they uh, were avid supporters, I veered right on off, because the avid supporters tend to force other people into their ridiculous belief systems. And if you're stupid enough to believe in a fake wealth, then that's the only thing that you can teach me is fake wealth. It's bottom line. So I'm going to get as much as I can. I was going to pay for the programming that they have to offer. But once I seen that this is veering off into trying to um, apostolize into a certain type of thinking, occultism, I wasn't interested in that aspect. I want to do business to business. You're providing information. Some of it is valid. Let's talk in private to discuss so that we can clarify what part of your presentation need to be a little critiqued a little bit, so that going forward, if we do seminars and so forth together, we are not teaching conflicting information. It's not to take over nobody what they got going on. And they may really think, because they got a lot of viewers and subscribers, uh, I'm subject to them. Baby, I'm not subject to you because you got no bunch, a lot of viewers and subscribers. Um, when you got money to match them viewers and subscribers, you holler at a bitch. That's what you do. I'm trying to help you. I don't need none of your viewers or your subscribers, because the people, if they following you and they continue to following you, and they don't at any point realize that you disseminating some incorrect information and speak back up, then they not too bright. I don't want them kind. You can keep all them Trump supporter type of Beyonce type of fans. That's not what I'm doing. I'm in the business of connecting with people who understand that the best way to display intellectual competence is to understand. Hold on, some new shit I just said. The best way to, this is the actions of a leader. The best way to display intellectual competence is to have some level of understanding that you don't know everything. Also, that we need each other. I'm not coming to you because I need you. I'm coming to you because I know we need each other. And I understand that we need each other. I'm not subject to your shenanigans you got on going on your channel. Let's let's get it be clear that just because people are patronizing your channel, that don't mean them is your subjects. Baby, because if you block me, I won't never know it. I won't ever know it. Because I will be moving right along. I would never know it. You know how many people is out there providing this type of information? And I am helping people who have some level of intellectual competence about this information by making sure that the people who are accessing my content, that I'm making referrals or recommendations proper, with proper consideration. I make sure I watch your stuff first, and then I present your content to my audience of people. And what people don't understand is that I have a lot more people watching me that matter. I'm gonna let that marinate with you. All right. That means the movers and shakers is watching my content. And so if you have a lot of peon followers, please don't get it twisted. They are peon followers. And so they don't matter that much. That's why they vote don't count. And that's why all your subscribers, out of all your subscribers, not if I done had ran across since I first published this fact, is that people with a lot of subscribers, okay, you have a lot of subscribers, the people who actually participate in whatever shenanigans that they got going on are nothing in compared to the amount of subscribers that they have. So what the fuck a lot of subscribers got to do with anything when only 20 people making comments on your channel? Your 30,000 million um, subscribers don't mean shit. What do mean something is those people who taking the time to comment. Them twos and fews. That is your core followership. And the analytics tell you who they are. Don't ignore that. Those are your constituents. And I've even gone through our subscriber list and I've been blocking, deleting people who subscribe. And we don't have but we had at that time we had 102 subscribers, but nobody comment and respond. I wanna block all 100 of y'all and start over. because y'all ain't real anyway. Y'all not keeping it real. So you might as well get your ass off this channel. Stop attaching to me. Stop attaching to us. Siphon energy. Going on your bullshit ass channel. Trying to reword something I said. Full of shit. If I bring content from someone else, I say it came from them. I don't need to tag right off of y'all viewership. As you can tell by the commentary, I'm standing on my own grounds. And I am well aware that many of the people who are creating this content are not. You know how they say, are we there yet? You're not there yet. You are not. If someone can baffle you with the question, you ain't there yet. Now, the other day, like, I think Key Estate, KJ, KW Estate channel, she is very knowledgeable. And I like her style of solvency. She believes in getting the answer and not just pass people off. She'd be like, oh yeah, I need to think about what could we do in that scenario, you know. She has a solvency type of calculative thinking. And that's what's needed to understand these things in totality. But what thing you cannot be is programmed. And I notice she's very programmed by Patrick Devine's teaching. Oh, if it ain't what Patrick Devine said, I don't want to hear it. If it ain't what Patrick Devine said, I don't receive it. And I'm going to be doing some videos critiquing Patrick Devine. I think I've already done some critiquing Patrick Devine works. Oh, yeah. It's a lot of rambling and so forth in there. I couldn't even tolerate listening to the video. That part. The fuck? How you gonna be that engrossed in somebody's belief system that can't stay on topic? That can't give you a clear and concise answer. I noticed in a lot of question and answer, people were scared to even ask the question because he'll haul off in bipolar ass response and holler at them and, look, I keep telling you, look, it's just keep it simple. Do this, do that. Look, who you talking to? First of all, little man, who you talking to? Correct your posture. How you come at a G. Correct your posture how you come at a G. Chop your ass all the way down to a lowercase L. Watch how you coming. If you respect your audience, then talk to your audience. Then talk to your audience respectable. Now, I ain't saying when, like Yusufa, spaz off. That shit is funny. That shit is funny. Don't get me wrong. That shit is funny as hell. But I mean, it's a momentary thing. If I came to find out some information, you wind up having to go off on somebody in the comment section. I enjoy that little entertainment. I want to get back to the topic at I don't want for 30 more minutes of the broadcast you ratting. Oh man, come on, man. At least let the rant be on topic. You know, his rant be on topic. That shit is funny. His shit be on topic. Massa go all off the top. I mean, I don't never know what I don't think he be knowing what his fucking topic is. He's just freestyling. He can do that. He can do that. What uh I noticed is that a lot of the channels like Chris. Now I like his channel because he flip flop like I do. He be doing dual account. Chris Hauser. Now he got somebody perpetrating his channel. He say under Christopher Hauser, but his name is Chris Hauser and some numbers behind it. Okay, that's his channel. And anyway, the confusing with that, you can't even refer people channel when they got all that kind of bullshit going on. Okay, but y'all have seen some of the critiques of his content, and mostly it's not a critique of saying that the content is incorrect, but how he went about wound up getting a case for some of his processes, and he's fighting it on the back end. But some of the critiques that are made concerning his performance is that there lacks some level of dishonor in attacking the people that he attacked with placing liens on their personal property. Okay, and it appeared to be unjustified on his face. So that's the reason he initially was arrested, but he has fought his case and he's prevailing at this point. He's because he has some level of honor and excusable neglect involved. So this is why I try to get people to understand you got to be ready and willing to be able to correct your actions. Like he sent payments or whatever, and that money is unaccounted for, and so he's crying unclean hands, and he's never mentioned it, but that's what it's called. When you saying, okay, you saying I committed a crime, well, you committed a crime. Where's this money at? I sent you such and such a $1 million check, and you never returned it. Okay, that's his case was based upon contract by postal rule, affecting the postal rule. We'll get into that because this is going to start talking to you here and making your claim about using it's not going to say postal rule. But that's what I mean by if you're reading this, it's not going to help you to understand all of this. You're just reading it. What a set off is. Okay? Set off can be done in many ways, but in court, you can set off actions. For your bills, you can set it off your obligation by sending a letter of revocation that you're revoking the contract. That's setting it off right there. That's setting it off the course that you are the borrower. If you send a letter and say, I am not the borrower, I'm the lender. I'm the creditor. Set that shit off. What's going to do is set off a ripple effect in the system where they can no longer make claim of obligation. This is the reason why your credit is automatically corrected. You don't have to send no letters to say correct my credit when you done already said I'm the creditor. You say I'm correcting my credit. Reason why some of your letters and stuff not working because they peon letters. And your guru helped you write a peon letter. Business of banking. This is the business of banking. A banker is the borrower. Now, one thing I will tell you about Manson. That nigga right there, he got this shit right here so cold. Now he understand this perspective. That's the good thing about something that contains different avenues with which you can take out of it, okay? Like an excerpt. You can take this part out and create a whole process or a whole system of things with just this part. Okay? A whole teaching course on just this part. This is a course about business, banking, and finance. Just in itself, just this section. The banker is the borrower. And also, a lot of people have created credit repair organizations based on just this part. And they may not even know it, but it's based on just this definition of what a banker is. Just that, the definition. Banker is the borrower, okay? When it's a banker. Now remember, this is in the public. So if you see private lender, that's not a banker. That's a lender. When you borrow, that includes anybody or person's business. See there? Person's business is a private banking. When the public bank borrows from the private person's business, okay? Whether incorporated public business or not, it's considered private banking. See there? Before we even got to that, it confirmed that I was correct in my explanation because that's the summation of that section of this explanation, okay? Whoever carry on the business of borrowing is a banker. Bankrupt includes any person whose estate is vested in trustees or assignee under the law. Bankrupt includes any person whose estate is vested in a trustee or assignee under the law for the time being in force relating to bankruptcy. That didn't mean shit. Relating to bankruptcy. Interrupting the bank flow. what I'm doing is transposing the words. Okay. Relating to bankruptcy. Okay, let's look at bank. A bank is like the bankruptcy. Currency is interrupted, you know. It's like a dam. All right. They're damned. Okay. Their currency is not flowing. They're insolvent. Okay, that's another word for bankrupt. You're insolvent means you can't figure out how to handle your financial affairs. And that you need some assistance. And so you would assign someone, and then the estate has to be vested. What does that mean? It has to be clear cut, some assets involved that need to be handled. You have property, something. You've been willed in estate. This is the reason that I think it says up here, wait, let's scroll up. Carrying on the business of borrowing as banker. Bankrupt includes any person. So if you were to get hold to someone else's estate, you are the person whose estate is vested in the person, their estate is vested in you as the trustee. I'll say that again. If you were willed or even not willed, okay, you're responsible for a deceased estate. That and so the position you would be taking on in that scenario is you would be the person who is the trustee of the person whose estate is vested. Okay, you would be the trustee in the vested estate or assignee under the law for the time being in force relating to the bankruptcy. So if you have power of attorney to be able to enforce this type of action where it involves the assistance of the court, okay, is vested in the court. Vested. Let's get into that. I don't know why they don't have some type of description of vested. Maybe we just haven't gotten to it. We in the bees. But let's just keep on and put a pin in that and understand and know we need to find out what vested means. I think we need to do a whole video on that. The bearer means the person in possession of a bill or a note. They vested, which is payable to bearer. Okay, who is the bearer? Oh, wow. Bearer means the person in possession of a bill. Okay, well, do you have the bill? Yes, then you are the bearer at that time. Okay, you are the holder in due course. You're holding it, and if you um, know how to fill out a presentment and you um, write or spell the correct information in the proper fields and send instructions back to the person who sent the bill or note, okay? And in that regard, you say, perhaps you would write pay to bearer. See, payable to bearer. Because when you send it in the mail and we could go back up where it says about notification and delivery. All right, and you serve them notice, then they are at that time when they receive it. Now they are the bearer. Okay, this is why you would write pay to bearer. In other words, when this get to you, this is authorizing you to do something about this. Okay, when I send you this presentment, it's authorizing you to do something about it. You are now the bearer. You may now act as the bearer. You may now act as the bailiff. You may now act as the bounty hunter. You may now act as the uh, court clerk, okay, and file this record, secretary and commissioner. You commission the duty, the fiduciary duty as a bearer of this bill, okay? And that's what bearer means, okay? So bearer means the person in possession. When you in possession, you the bearer. When the person, when you mail it, um, put it in the mail, okay? The person who is the carrier, okay, the person that's is even a bearer, okay? They're carrying the message. So they're bearing the liability of if the message received is received, okay? You no longer have the you no longer bear the responsibility of the recipient receiving the notice. The carrier now, when you put it in the mail, the carrier now is the bearer. Whoever got it is like, what's that, hot potato. It's like that game, hot potato. Okay? Because if you get caught with the potato, you it, right? You out. So you pass it on. Okay, now I'll give you another better analogy of a more productive nature of passing on a message. Okay? And how each person is the bearer. And for example, when you are taught religion, right? I know I said a good example, but it's a realistic example. Close enough. That's good. It's realistic. But when you're taught religion and people use the Bible as a reference, that they are categorizing their message as a bearer of the good news. They don't say, I'm bearing bad news. They say, I'm bearing good news. Okay? So the Bible is a bearer of good news. We're talking about Bibles and bills. The Bible is a bearer of good news. Who is the bearer? Okay? People need to know who the bearer is. All right? We're talking about Bibles and bills. It's a bill of exchange. We're reading it directly from the bills of exchange. This is their explanation. We're trying to get an understanding. Bill means bill of exchange. Bill means bill of exchange. Hold on, let's edit that. I'm gonna highlight that a little bit. Okay, you need to understand that. Bill means bill of exchange. So it is a singular uh, sometimes. I thought I saw that. Because this is an explanation of what a bill of exchange is. Okay? The title is letting you know that this is relative to plural forms of bills, notes, right? In all different types and forms of presentment because of the fact that intellectual property is a bill. mm, an idea is a bill of exchange. In other words, it's something tangible that has value that can be exchanged on the market. An idea has value and it can be exchanged on the market. Hence, intellectual property is covered in equal protections under this bill. Okay? Your promissory note that was written at when closing that is um, subject to the rules that are provided um, here in the bills of exchange. Okay, that is a bill of exchange, and I notice people say, "Oh, we gonna discuss bills of exchange, negotiable instruments, uh, and um, conditions of acceptance." Wait a minute now, because them all not in the same category. One describes the type of bill it is, the condition in the conditions that it can be accepted upon. Okay, that's the instructions. That's not a type of bill. It it is a type of bill, but it's not a type of bill. What I mean by you got two, it's not a form. It's not a form. Oh, this is a condition of acceptance form. What is that? Okay, that's unintelligible. The scope of the agreement will outline the conditions of acceptance. The scope of the agreement, the scope of the contract will determine the conditions of acceptance. So that would not be a condition of acceptance contract. That is the uh, perimeters in which this contract can be governed. Okay? That's the jurisdiction of the contract. Them the laws, the bylaws, the conditions of the contract. Okay? Same thing. That's the conditions on which this contract exists. Is anybody else involved? No, this is a private contract. Is anybody else involved? Yes, this is a public nonprofit. Whatever your choice is, um, the conditions of it is not a, a type of bill exchange. That's the conditions of the bill. The type of bill is negotiable or non-negotiable. You ain't got but two types of bills of exchange that I'm aware of. You got your negotiable and you got your non-negotiable. You got your revocable and you got your irrevocable. That's the same thing. They just call different words, but it's only two of them. You got your affidavits and you got your declarations. Still ain't but two types of forms that qualify as a bill. Either it's a negotiable form or a non-negotiable form. If you create a video, okay, either you created that video for commerce or you created for your own personal enjoyment. Which one is it? Okay? If you did not state that you was um, providing that for business, you have created a non-negotiable contract that it is safe for us to presume that that content was emitted on for personal use and enjoyment, and it has no you have no commercial interest vested in that content by evidence that you did not state that in the content, on the content, your titles, none of that. Displayed a level of professionalism as to alert us that this is your intellectual property. Therefore, it would be safe for us to assume that it's not. You understand? Two rules. Ain't but two. Let's keep it real simple. Ain't but two rules. Either the bill is negotiable or it's not. If it's non-negotiable, that means it's private. You can't force nobody to negotiate in the private. Non-negotiable. If it's in the public, like people think they build in private trust, but they building them in the public, that's a public trust. And I don't care if you call it private, we can call you to the carpet on it because you're operating in the public. If you're operating in the public, it is no longer private. Just because you said it was private. I saw court was consideration of the private membership club, and they was okay with expanding their boys club so long as they was making money off of women joining. But then they tried to exclude the women from activities, stating that it was initially a private boys club, only allowing young male figures in. But the court um, decided that if you thought that the women was good enough to enter into your club to invest their time and money in buying your products and your t-shirts and donating and shit, then they worthy of all the membership products that you offer. So you got to be careful when you have private memberships that you don't open the door for other things if you don't want the door to be opened up on your ass for other things. And that door will be opened because you don't have no grounds for which you standing on. When it was okay to accept the women money, but they not going to be a part of certain activities. What? Mm-mm. It was a men's club. I think they shouldn't have let the women in the first place. They should have stood their grounds and said, this is a man's club. No women's allowed. Period. This is a man thing. Just like you can have a woman's club. No man don't belongs in that. And if you really want to solidify, like my grandmother was one of the founders of the Women's Aglow, which is a women's group. All women. All women. The people on the board, women. Sponsors, women. All women. It's very woman geared, without question. Women in ministry, missionaries across the globe. Women, 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 women. Missionaries. Um, and other positions that were ministerial, nurses. Um, and people don't even know that a nurse is a ministerial position. You often service for comfort. Right? If you're a nurse. That's a ministerial service. That's a high-ranking service. Very high-ranking service. Why you think when in the military is dispensed? They dispense the men to go, or the people to go out, the men to go out and do battle, and bringing up the rear if they is active in war or not. Bringing up the rear is the medical crew. You already know if you encounter some casualties, you're going to need some medical crew there on staff ready to administer service to your wounded soldiers, right? So, ministerial duties is just as important as the soldiers themselves. They wouldn't have nobody to doctor on if didn't nobody stand up, right? But at the same time, when people standing up, it's really understand you're going to need somebody to have some backup for them when they get shot down. On point. All right. Still missed the two. Still missed the two. You're going to always have the two. Essentials. Essential elements. It's the two. And what I mean by it don't have to be two together for it to be understood there's two involved. Oh, wait a minute. Let me clarify that. Because that need to be clarified. It don't need to be two together to be understood that there's two involved. It don't need to be two together to be understood that there was two involved. If you have a piece of paper in your hand, it's already understood there are two entities involved in that one piece of paper. The two entities that are involved is the intellect of the person that created the document and the intellect of the person that would interpret the document and give it value, okay? That's how you give it value, by interpreting the document's value, okay? You interpret it. And so the creator is the only one that can can determine the value of the document, right? The person who created it, and say, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Don't put your coffee uh on my Bible. Don't put no shit nothing on my Bible, because they value the Bible, right? Or say, for example, they taking notes. They may say, don't sit your coffee on my notes. I don't want my paperwork with food and coffee stains on them so I can't see it. That means even their notes that they took, they deem by deed, they deemed them valuable. Because they couldn't deem it valuable if they had not said that you will devalue it. They didn't have to say, I'm valuing my paper. When they expressed that you placing a cup of coffee on their paper, or food crumbs and this and that, spillage on their paper would devalue its content. By that very notion, they are asserting that document has value to them. So they are expressing their interest in the value of that document, their notebook tablet, their studies. They're valuing in more ways than one without even saying it. That's an assumed contract, an understanding. Mama don't want, daddy don't want me uh, devaluing his study content, okay? Whatever he writing on this sheet of paper is important to him. So then he can pass that value on to the child. It's a value of understanding that when he wrote that was valuable. And he passed that on to his child. If I write something, it's valuable. See what I'm saying? And that's the interest, that's the legacy, the interest of legacy. That's what the interest is. Past interest on with legacy. Right? So whatever you interested in, and I heard one of the people was explaining about mortgages, and we did a review of a video. KW Estates, and she was saying how in her mortgage, when she did a forensic research on it, she found out that a lot of these entities, such as Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae and all that, they have all of these specific names that she named off. But what was incorrect in that is that in that understanding is that everybody falls under that perimeter. Because some people, a lot of people is applying through those programs. That's what they're telling you. But it is by no means stating that those are the only programs in existence. That's the ones they're promoting on that document. That was an advertisement, and you thought it was a financial statement, but it wasn't. It was an advertisement like that. That's why they gave you that bullshit ass summary, because that's what it is. It's a bullshit ass summary. It's not the facts at arm's length. And so they can throw little advertisements in there like that. And if you aren't able to detect that this is bullshittery and that all of these companies are attached to my file and reaping benefit, meanwhile, y'all reaping benefit off of my demise, those are all the people you need to sue, sweetie. Those are not all the people allowed to do that. Those are all the people you need to take action against because they are advertising on your documents. When you requested information, they gave you information, but it wasn't what you requested. It really wasn't. And based upon those grounds, you can take action because it really wasn't. But you need to make your request very specific, like she said, and perhaps she didn't at that time. So she letting you know, go get these documents, okay? But I am adding to that by saying, if you don't know what these documents mean, get them and then learn. Ask questions. You can ask questions about their own documents. It's not fair for you to have to interpret it. You can get on the record what they claiming this shit mean. Because if it's not in accordance to what the law says, that they can disseminate, like all them advertisements and stuff when you asking for information, then they are in violation of the Open Information Act. Because that wasn't what they were supposed to send you. And it was unlawful for them to try to communicate an advertisement to you without your permission under the guise of providing information. Because it is under the guise. Delivery means transfer of possession. Now, it's out of my hands, it's in your hands. It's in the courier's hands. It's in somebody's hands, but it ain't mine. I sent it off. Now it's in the courier hand. I done had to call the postmaster and tell the postmaster they out here, the mail carrier was tampering with my mail. He was playing silly games, holding on to my check. Because he was reading my mail. He said, I see you got this and I see you got that. I'm saying to myself, oh, really? Are you supposed to be seeing all of that? You sure is seeing a lot. I mean, he was all in my business to the point he was starting to deliver me packets that was bust open. He was going in the package to see what it was. I received a package from, I told Capital One, Credit One, Bank of America. Y'all, all you motherfuckers. I want an arm's length report. on all of my accounts. And then, I don't know, I remember if it was a man or a lady, but I got it documented. I made a lot of phone calls, had to document it. So I can recall in court or on my case. Okay, on this day I spoke with this person, so such, and this was what was discussed, and this person said this to me, and this person said that to me. I document it and attach it to the file. I got files for each one of them. I'm holding. And I sent them a request uh, for at arm's length documentation of my accounts. Well, they sent them, but the mailman was holding them. And then he bust one open. I guess he was wondering, what's all these thick-ass packages for? This lady getting some thick-ass packages, and then he's seeing the business name and stuff like that. And so he being nosy beyond his job description. Okay? Or just see the name on there, see the address, deliver where it got to go. He all invested, and he even wrote a letter for my case for my house for me. But after that is when he was doing all of this. And so sometimes people can do a kindness and then turn around and do something malicious or um, dishonorable. Okay? And that's what he did. He started holding my check because he had some personal interest in me, but I didn't return it. Okay? So he started holding my mail. He was reading my mail the whole time because he wanted to discuss it, talk to me about it, ask me questions and stuff like that. And I could tell he was curious. Um, he was telling me about he had experienced um, being there when the person who sold the property to me was the landlord of a real tenant that he had, and they had some discrepancies when he had a tenant there before. But I was that's when I expressed to him, I'm not no tenant though. I'm buying this property, and I showed him my contract because he at first didn't want to deliver my mail. But he don't have no right to do that, be holding up mail and all of that. He just going all... This is what I try to tell people. What really creates a case in any case and claim is when somebody either didn't rise to their responsibility or somebody went overboard past their responsibility and was doing the most. That's why I have a case and claim against that man who was holding my secure property. I had to call the post master on him to get that situation resolved. And that's ridiculous. It's on the record. I had to literally call the postmaster on him to stop him from doing the most in his position of authority. He only is a bearer. He don't have no other authority. Matter of fact, he's supposed to be the protector and the keeper of your secrets, not the person digging all in your stuff and trying to open up your mail and all of that kind of stuff. He's supposed to make sure he get your mail and deliver it to your mailbox to you safely, unfettered. That's why he gave me that excuse of why my package was bust open. And the other package, he had done that too. He snuckily just left it on my porch, delivered it on my porch, when he normally delivered my mail to me in my hand. He delivered it on the porch because he had done that to the package, open it up. Then I was getting a lot of packages in. Some would come, some wouldn't, and all of that kind of stuff. Oh, they's doing the most. Let me tell you something. If you doing something, anything big, baby, we back to acceptance. I hope this message is fully delivered. Um, you gotta accept the fact that people gonna go outside of their purview of authority and be doing the most. That's just the reality of it. They don't have the authority to do it. And just you saying, you can't do that or you're not supposed to, you sound like a whiny baby. If you don't do nothing about it. You just sound like a whiny baby. But if you like, oh, hell no, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I was watching a channel of this gentleman, and his channel is I Live in the Woods. And what he's portraying is that he live in the woods. He said he was 15 minutes away from the general public, but I heard an ambulance. Okay? That didn't sound far away at all. Okay? And so, perhaps he is in the woods, but he's just in deep enough in the forage of the of wherever he is to um, build a house in there. And he's supposedly building a house on this property, and he's probably adversely possessing the property or intending to, but you can't do that in secret. You have to do it open and notorious. So they can make him leave the property, but for now he's just sojourning on the property. And so he was saying that if somebody was mean enough to get him kicked off of where he is, he'll just go somewhere else and build another house. Now that's his solution to not having to pay bills. That's one of the main things he said. I don't have to pay no bills. I don't know how he got phone service if he don't have to pay no bills, but that's what he said. Perhaps he have a Obama phone or something like that. I don't know. Um, he's also has a lot of devices that he's bragging about having in the woods. So he's different from some people who are nature bound type of nomads, and they don't they minimize the type of device uses, and so that they can connect with nature. Um, he's different. He wants to connect with the public through all of his devices. He has the TV, got the, music. He got his own music. He's an artist. He has some content there, and because people are interested in that type of lifestyle, and so on his channel, he show you how a little bit of his interest in natural, investing in it, natural laws, living on the land, and stuff like that. Now he pulled out a bow, but I didn't see him shoot nothing. And I heard him talk about fishing, but I didn't see none of that either. He said he built his own shelter from I forgot what they call that, young wood, and did appear to be built out of young wood. And he has an upstairs and downstairs. Um, and he's sharing his experience when he first started. His first house caved in, and then so of course, in experiencing that, he learned how to do real carpentry, where he built his structure more stable. And it is stable, in fact, to the point where he has a upper and lower structure built. And that's interesting. That's very interesting to see. And so his viewers, they be begging him, show us this, show us that, and everything. They be begging to see the different aspects of his life. And he will scroll through his cabin and with pride, because he created that with his own hands. There's a level of value in that. Anything that you create with your own hands, if he in fact created that with by his own hands, it's a lot of value in that. And if I was him, I would do more than just be scrolling through YouTube, like showing the cabin. I would take still pictures and capture that and trademark that architectural design. He's not really understanding the true value of it. He's just thinking Google terms. Oh, I get a lot of likes. I'll get a lot of likes, and I get a little royalty check from Google. Okay, but beyond that, he has created something beautiful with his own hands, and he has his little compartments to it and everything, and it's very interesting. So in that regard, all the shenanigans he got on his channel, he does have a lot of where he display his views on life and so forth, and along with his lifestyle. It matches his lifestyle. His views match his lifestyle. He even verbalized how his mother feel about that, his situation, and said that she had bought him something that I think to help him out there. But for the most part, he's not relying on his mother. He's relying on himself as a man. And that's good. But delivery, we hear this word all the time, you know. In music, when you match the and sing a song on the beat, or if it's off the beat, it needs to be in sync, and that's what they call vocal delivery. When it's the presentation is smooth and uninterrupted. When the mailman was doing proper delivery, I received my mail was smooth and uninterrupted. When the carrier interrupts the flow, that's a disruption in delivery of service, okay? And that's why he's responsible for that. That's a very serious offense, especially when you're holding people checks and financial instruments. We'll end right there, but thank you all for joining us.